This is from the Bleacher Report. Every team's biggest roster holes ahead of the 2024 preseason. And, man, I'm scratching my head at this one. For the Browns, they have number 1 wide receiver, number 2 running back, number 3 left tackle, number 4 linebacker, and number 5 interior defensive line. Player to add now, linebacker Zach Cunningham. JOK shouldn't leave the field. Jordan Hicks will be a good addition, but another veteran to compete with Devin Bush and Tony Fields could round out the room. Cunningham found a home with the Eagles last season, showed he can still play, 85 tackles and 10 starts. Browns played 3 linebackers 16% of the time, lowest in, so that's base. They played base 16% of the time, lowest in the NFL. So that third linebacker, he's on the field 1 of every 10 and a half plays, roughly. Wide receiver, I get it. Behind Amari Cooper, you've got some question marks. To say that's the biggest roster hole, if that's the biggest roster hole, this probably is the best roster in the NFL.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's depth. I mean, I put tight end up there. I mean, they're relying a lot on Jordan Akins. He didn't do a whole lot last year. I mean, you can say what you will about Harrison Bryant. He was a short yardage blocking guy, and he was the guy that did the quarterback sneaks. I don't know if they think Giovanni Ricci, who's kind of a combination um, fullback tight end, if they think he's that guy. Um, but other than that, if Njoku goes down, you really don't have a whole lot at tight end. But linebacker, yeah, I mean, they like Tony Fields to fill that Sion Taki role. He's been lining up with the first team. I think they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle with Devin Bush, former top 10 pick of the Steelers, but he hasn't been the same since the injury. Um, and I think that Andrew Berry and the coaching staff looks at it in training camp. I want to remind, the people watching is that a few years ago after training camp, they brought in Malcolm Smith, a 30-something free agent linebacker. He joined the team in the middle of training camp, and he was the second leading tackler. Last year, after Greenbrier, they brought in Shelby Harris. He turned out to be probably the best defensive tackle, if not the second best. They have a list of guys like that, and after they get into training camp, whether they have injuries or not, I think they will look at areas that they feel that they're not comfortable with. Wide receiver has some unproven guys. They're counting on Judy, his potential. They're counting on Tillman to take a step. And we talked about Thrash or Bell, but I wouldn't be opposed to finding a veteran if they don't think those guys are ready to step in and contribute. But most of these are depth. The front line guys, barring injury, they're pretty solid. When you look at the starting lineup, they return everybody on defense except the 2 guys they let walk, Anthony Walker and Sion Taki, and they felt Jordan Hicks, the one guy replaced Walker. And as you said, they don't look at 3 linebackers as the most important thing. They think Tony Fields or Devin Bush can do it, or even Mohamed Diabate or Nathaniel Bookie Watson, the kid they drafted, SEC Defensive Player of the Year. So I think they'll look at everything when they get into training camp and see if they need to upgrade.